In this video, I'm going to tell you some things you should know before you accept a position at Kona Ice. Hey guys, how's it going? What's going on? It's Isaiah. So I want to do a disclaimer before this video starts. I cannot say that this is how every Kona Ice franchise is, because the company is franchised out to people, because there's different bosses for each franchise. I can't say that this is definitively, what every Kona Ice does, but I will say that I have worked for two franchises, and I am doing this based off of, I would say, about 3 years, cumulative experience with the company. I will say that because of that, I am making this video, and I think that I can kind of give you at least a rough idea of some of the things you're going to experience when working for Kona Ice, and you're going to have to take those things and kind of be like, weigh them and be like, is this the right choice for me for my career, or maybe not career, maybe more like a temporary job in the sense of like a high school or student job, and I'll get to you why I'm calling it that later. But whatever you're looking at Kona Ice to fulfill, I hope this video will help you decide if it's going to fulfill that for you. So these 5 things I'm going to cover today, they're not just like quick tips. They're like, I'm going to go in full depth with them, and it's going to be about hours, pay, schedule, self-care, and management. So starting off with hours. If you're not working, you're not going to make any money. Now, there's times of the year where Kona Ice is very busy, and those are like school year times, making decent hours. I was also in college, so I can't really give you guys like, oh, I only made this many hours, because my school schedule definitely affected it. And I know there's some weeks, or a lot of weeks during that time, where I would have made a decent amount of hours. But if you want job security, you don't want this job, because what's going to happen is that once you get past school season, you're going to hit December and you're going to hit the summer, and it's super dead. So dead that when I put in my 2 weeks this last couple weeks, I put in my 2 weeks with the company because I'm going to a different job. I literally got like barely any hours at all for the last 2 weeks. And I even talked to other people, and they were making like 15 hours a week. And the person, one of the people that was a manager, was telling us, oh yeah, it's going to be like this for 3 weeks. What? I don't know about you, but like, if you have a job, you can't just have weeks where you're not making money. And it's just like, it's crazy. The last couple weeks too, I was still making high 30 hours, and then I got hit with a couple 15 hours a week, and then next thing you know, it was just like, I thought it was a mistake. I was like, there's no hours, because the first week after my 2 week notice, I got like nothing showed up on my schedule, and I was like, hey, is the schedule posted? And they're like, oh yeah, you didn't get any hours. And I'm like, so I'm not getting paid at all for this week, at all. I'm not getting any money. So I'm going to put down a calendar right here. This is a standard 7-day calendar. It starts on Monday, because both franchises have their calendar start on Monday and ended on Sunday. And let's say, for example, that there's 6 events that week, right? 6 events, but they're each on 3 days, right? Now, again, this is a food truck, so there's not going to be a physical location. So you're only going to work 3 days out of that week. And depending on how long those events are, you could only be working like 4 hours this day, 3 hours the other day, and then maybe it's just a birthday party, 2 hours the other day. And it gets even worse, because Kona's like to employ a lot of people, because there's all these events that pop up that are at the same time. Even though there's not that many events during the week, you still have ones that happen at the same time, so they need multiple drivers. So then you can kind of split those hours in half, because now you have people that are coming in and taking multiple days too, and then you have less hours for yourself. One more point I want to make about the hours before we move on to the next point of this video is the fact that I believe I said earlier, and if I didn't, then here it is right now. The lowest like busiest time of the year is December and the summertime. Now, here's why that's a problem, because this job might attract someone from school like high school. Well, not a lot of Kona's higher in high school. I would say more like college. A lot of college students might be looking at this job as a way to just have a job in school. Now, what times are you the most available during the year? Christmas break and summer break. So I will leave you with this for hours. If you want to get the most hours during these times, I would suggest looking elsewhere because you can probably get a job that would guarantee you 35 to 40 hours a week, at some place that has a physical location, and you can definitely maximize your time during summer break and Christmas break by getting a different job that's going to actually have decent work because, those are the lowest times for both Kona ices. Again, it could be different for your franchise based on your location, but at least from my experience, I would say you could definitely go make some more money and also have to not be in the heat, which is going to be part of another point later. You can go get a different job somewhere else and actually make more money during these times. Moving on to schedule. Like I've said, this is an event-based business, and that means that your schedule is going to be different almost every week. Unless you get sometimes, like during school, it got a little bit repetitive because we would have repeating events, like repeating school lunches, repeating events on the weekend. But sometimes, even with those, you would still have some sort of day come up that's in the middle of the week that's random. So, like, it wouldn't be a consistent schedule. And you also find out your schedule like Sunday. So you find out Sunday if you're working Monday. Now, I do have to say there's been some experiences that I'm not proud to, not proud, but I'm not happy that I have to share it, but I feel like it should be noted. You get your schedule on Sunday, right? And what's the first thing you do after you get your schedule? You go and plan other things, right? You plan things after work. You plan things around your schedule. Especially if you're in school, you're planning stuff around your work schedule. Now, I've had times where it's gotten to be the day of, or even the day before, or the day before, or even the day of, where someone else might not be able to work, or something might happen. We might get a completely last minute event. And I've had people ask if we can cover it, and I say no, sorry, I have something that I have planned. I have something that's going on. I have to study now because I've been working the other days of the week, and I've actually gotten managers and bosses that have said, like, in a group chat before, they've said, hey, you guys got to start taking these shifts and stuff. You guys got to start taking, kind of making us feel bad for the fact that we can't take a last minute shift. When technically, in Arizona at least, I'm not sure if it's different other places, technically they can't switch a shift on you, or they have to give you at least 48 hours notice about a shift change, just in general too. But it's also like, if we're supposed to respect the fact that you have this schedule that you're giving to us kind of last minute, and it's really different every single week, if we're supposed to kind of work with you on that, you should be able to work with us on that if we have something going on that night, we should be made to feel bad about that. And again, I'm hoping this is not experienced at other Kona Ice franchises, but I'm just warning you, with it being a food truck, you're going to have times when they really need someone to cover, and if you can't, you might be made to feel bad. Maybe not even on purpose. Maybe they just don't notice they're doing it. But it was said in a group chat, you guys need to start taking these shifts. But it's I have something planned now. It's it's the middle of the week. I got my schedule Sunday. So be mindful of that. The schedule's gonna be really flexing, and you might get on bad terms if you can't just take random shifts last minute. And when you're, of course, trying to do other things, and even school, this might not be the best for you. Moving on to the next one, we have pay. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with, the hours thing. If you're not making hours, you're not going to get paid well. So be mindful. Like I said, kind of in the last couple statements, you're not going to utilize your time and get paid as much as you can that you could if you worked at another job. Just now, I just started this other job now, and I'm I'm making a decent amount of hours consistently. I'm geez, this could have been me coming out of high school, I could have had a much more stable schedule, stable hours, but instead I went to Kona Ice. So be mindful that, you could be not getting as much pay in a sense of what you could be possibly making. In the time I worked for Kona Ice, I think the highest I've ever gotten paid was, I want to say $12 an hour. I don't think I ever hit 13. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's not really worth it. if you break down everything I've already said about the hours, the schedule being changed, and having to, later I'm going to talk about self-care, but having to, like, at least in Arizona, be out in the blistering sun during the summer. There's all these different things where it's like, and I don't want it to come off like I'm saying we're entitled for this, but just having the base pay be a little bit higher just because we're dealing with other stuff that you don't have to deal with other businesses would be nice. The fact that we are getting less stable hours, I feel like it might be better if they did kind of work with you on pay a little bit and say, hey, because you're being flexible, we'll give you more than minimum wage. We'll give you like 14 an hour or something. This is at least Arizona like pay right now. I think our minimum is right now is $11.50. But yeah, like, just something to kind of be like, hey, we want you to stick around even through the hard seasons, so we're going to give you this. And especially with, like, they want you to be flexible with your schedule, and they want you to be flexible with everything else. I feel like they could do more to make you more on their side where you want to stay. Because like I've said in the other ones, I believe I've said, the retention rate is really bad for Kona Ice. As far as I've seen, like, people leave all the time because I feel like people always notice that they could have done something, or they could be somewhere better. And honestly, it's going to have to come down to, like, do you want to deal with the extra stuff when you're not getting paid that much more than if you were just working at a McDonald's? Like, honestly, you could go work at McDonald's and make the same amount and have more stable hours and have with more stable hours have better pay. So the last point I'm going to make about pay is actually it's a sensitive topic for me because I honestly don't feel like this is right. I feel like if you had a physical business, it's different because with split shifts, you can take off, go do whatever you want and then come back and work later. You don't have any job responsibility. You don't have to watch anything. You're literally gone. You're doing whatever you want. Let's say you're working at 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. and you're working that's like 13 hours, right? Like it says 13 hours on your scheduled shift, but you have to pay attention to the fact that you have 2 events that you're doing for that day. So one of them starts at over here somewhere starts at 10 a.m. So you have an hour to get your stuff together. You get to your event, set up, and you're there from 10 a.m. Let's say you're there 10 a.m. to only 1 p.m., right? Now let's say your second event over here starts at 4 p.m. and goes until, let's say, 9 p.m. Now you can see that gap in the middle somewhere over here. All that time, both franchises have asked me to clock out. And sometimes I've had to, because I'm too far from my house or because, I'm in an area that's right next to the second location, I'm just sitting in the truck for these hours. They say you can go drive places and get food and stuff, which honestly, if you think that they're not doing anything wrong, please tell me in the comment section. I want to learn from this, but I just feel like if you have to watch the truck and if I'm still sitting there waiting for your guys' event to start, I feel like, and again, this might sound a little entitled and I apologize, but I feel like you should be getting paid at least something for that because it goes from having you're taking 13 hours out of your day and you're only getting paid for those slots, and then all that time in the middle that you were sitting around kind of waiting for their business, you're not getting paid for. And if you had a job in a physical location, you wouldn't run into that because you get paid at a physical location. Like the retail people at H&M, the retail people there, doesn't matter if anyone is in the store or not, you are getting paid for your time. So if you're just sitting there at the register waiting for someone to come in, you're still getting paid for that. So I don't know. I personally, again, I'm not super in a law. I'm not I don't know these certain things. I just don't see that being right. So if you want to maximize your time, I would go somewhere that's going to give you the pay that you are the pay for the time you're taking up. Like the new job I have, literally, I get there at, today, I'm going to be working from 3 p.m. to 8, give or take, with closing, right? And I get paid for every minute I'm there. I know that, if I add up those hours that I'm doing today, I know I'm getting paid for every single one of them. I'm not going to, go in for that many hours and then have this giant section in the middle where I'm not getting paid for. So I don't know. That's just kind of a touchy thing with me. I just feel like it's not right. And again, I could be wrong. I would see that, and it happens frequently enough that I would say get a different job. Go find a job that's going to actually, like, the time you're spending there, the time you're spending in the truck, or not even the truck, sorry, the other job, whatever it is, the time you're spending in the store. Get a job that's going to actually pay you for every minute of it. We're starting to wrap up this video here. The second to last point I want to talk about is self-care. There are jobs that you can just clock in and not really have to worry about self-care that much, besides, getting a snack during the day and drinking some water. That's not Kona. You're outside a lot of the time. Now, I'm coming from the perspective of a person from Arizona. You are outside a lot of the time. You are in the heat, 113-degree weather sometimes out here in Arizona. So you got to put a lot more effort into taking care of yourself. You got to go get water from like Circle K in like a refillable cup. You got to go, you make sure you get lunch. You gotta make sure you're taking care of yourself. And sometimes the AC in the trucks is broken, so you're always sweating all day. So there's a lot more self-care that comes into play when you're working for Kona Ice versus another job. Another job, you can just show up, you have AC, you just work. You don't have to focus on those other aspects. And I know it's not that much to really handle, but I'm just saying, if you want to have to worry less about taking care of yourself when you're at work, then go get another job. Also, I will say this is more like a self-control thing, but you're constantly driving around, and there hasn't been any microwaves in any of the trucks I've driven for Kona Ice, and there's no freezer you can put food in. So most likely you're gonna have to carry around a lunchbox with you, and even with that, you're gonna be driving by fast food places the whole day. And I fell into that temptation of constantly stopping and getting food. So if you don't want that temptation of always driving by fast food, if you know that you're gonna be like, drive by and always want to get something from there, then I suggest not doing that, because it's different if you're in an office and you can't leave until you're done. If you can't leave, then you just, put lunch in the break room's fridge. If you can't leave the building, then you're not going to go get fast food, unless you have enough time to go out. But most likely if you can't go out, you're just going to have a lunch, and you're actually going to eat healthier. With Kona, you're going to be more tempted to eat worse, and it might be, worse for your health. And again, it's going to be worse for your self-care. So keep that in mind. Last but not least, management. Now, everything I've talked about can come back to management, because franchisees can choose different pay for their people. They can decide to give you hours when there's none. I've had a franchisee that gave me hours when we were low. Like he would see that we didn't have any hours for a week, and he would be like, hey, I'm going to give you 15 hours to go around neighborhoods. And that was really good. Then I had the other manager that's like, I can't give you hours. Or by manager, I mean like owners. I don't have any hours for you this week. So it's just like, it depends on how they run their business. So you're really kind of playing Russian roulette, because you don't know if you're going to get you don't know if you're going to get a manager that his flaws are going to affect you more than the other manager's flaws. Because I feel like even though these people that I worked with were so nice, most of the time, there was times when they kind of failed in my book, whether it's how they treated me, whether it's how they did their business. There's always a time when someone's going to let you down, in a sense. And I guess it comes down to, do you want to take that risk of getting the manager that lets you down too much in an area that you need? Do you want a manager that's going to let you down in the sense of not giving you hours? Or do you want one that's going to, give you more hours but might be a little more rude to you, when they're stressed? It just comes down to what do you want to put up with, in a sense? And what are you willing to risk having to put up with? So management's it's kind of rough, because they don't have a choice really in all of this, because it's how the business is designed, and it's kind of like a tough situation where it's like they have to run their business. But Kona itself, I would personally say, is flawed, because I feel like if you have a business that's constantly losing people, and the schedule can't be solid, and just the business practices I talked about today, I feel like if those things are going on, there's some things need to change. And if you're watching this and you work at a Kona Ice franchise, whether you're a current employee, manager, or even someone in the corporate office, I hope you take this video, and I hope you can learn about it and start conversation about what can change. I'm hoping that you guys don't take this as like, oh, he's making it, he hates us. I don't hate the company. I just know that this is how I experienced it. And I'm sorry it's been so negative for this video. I'm sorry that it hasn't just been rosy. It's just, it's difficult to just be like, I want to do a video on it, and I was just like, I can't just come up here and say it was a great company, always work for them. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it with knowing what I know now. I will say that if you can put up with some of these things that you've seen me talk about today, then hey, take the risk, especially if you're right out of high school. Like, you have a lot less to lose, so go try it. I honestly, switching over to being positive, I honestly did enjoy the actual like act of working for them, in a sense of like driving to events. I love driving, and actually setting up and meeting the people, the kids. Like, I actually enjoyed like the act of working for them. It was just more of like the behind the scenes for working for them was difficult to sometimes handle, in a sense of like, am I gonna get a paycheck this next week, or is it gonna be like barely anything? So like, if it wasn't for the background being bad, I would say, hey, work for them. It's fun. It's a great job for a first time worker to get. Like, I would say just go for it. But with these factors, I would say be very mindful of them and make the right decision for yourself. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, I'm sorry to be so negative, but I hope you guys can learn from this. And Kona Ice, I'm not trying to slander you. This is just my honest opinion of my experiences and my freedom of speech. I hope you guys can respect that. And yeah, that's it for this video. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.